Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nisha Hassan, and I'll be your host and moderator for this Sterling Metals webinar. We're very pleased to have with us Sterling Metals CEO Mat Wilson and SVP Exploration and Evaluation Jeremy Niemi, live from the Soo Copper Project core shack. Today's session will begin with a brief overview of Sterling Metals, followed by the history of the Soo Copper Project, a look at the 2025 drilling program, and of course, our recent discovery. After that, we'll dedicate the majority of our time to Q&A, as we know that's what many of you are here for. You'll see a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Please type your questions there at any time during the webinar. We'll do our best to get through as many as possible. And if we receive similar questions, I'll group them together. I'll be reading out the questions so Mat and Jeremy can focus on providing their insights. Mat and Jeremy, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Nisha. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Really exciting time here at Sterling. We're sitting here in our core shack, about 30-minute drive from the property. And it just so happens that we were all together for this press release to go out on Monday. Our full team is here. And so it's been a really a great ride. It's nice to see all the support. So thank you all people for supporting the story over the years and especially right now. I think that what makes most sense at the moment, oh, hold on, I suppose I should say that there's a disclaimer of forward-looking statements that will be here or there. I think most thing at the moment, we often underestimate team and how long people work at these sort of things. It's a really special thing that we just kind of came up with. And Jeremy and I have actually worked together for about the last give or take 8 years. It started in trying to restart a gold mine and find new gold in Paraguay. We've been in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it led us here to Ontario. So it's been a journey, but it's a special thing. And I think that I've spent the last 17 years in the venture capital space, investing in junior mining around the world, and about the last 8 years running exploration companies. And maybe Jeremy, just a little bit background on yourself.
I'm from Northern Ontario, from Sudbury, originally from Coppercliff, actually. And yeah, I've worked all over the world. Fortunate enough to meet Mat back when I was VPX in Noront, and we've worked closely together since then. And yeah, it's really fun to find something new like this and something special like this in Northern Ontario. It's got a soft spot for me, being from up here. So
yeah, that's true. It's amazing when you think of our team. It's about 4 people really. The 5 people of the core team have fought through laying IP lines and polar bears and black mold and Labrador, and it's a real credit to everyone that it kind of got done. But highlighting a few other people kind of on the executive branch, I think it's really important to. He's standing outside right now, and the core, looking at core from today, Dr. Neil O'Brien brings with him just an amazing experience in porphyries. He was on the board of, he's been on the board of NGX from the beginning. He was the SVP of Lundin Mining, starting in about 2005, I think, at Cominco GM before that. Has spent a lot of time in base metals in his life, and it's just been an invaluable contributor to this, and really gives us the perspective of how exciting this really is, the scale of what we're going to do, and we're trying to get that across today. As we push forward here. So,
and our amazing geos, Crystal and Rory,
Crystal Smith and Rory Joyce, who have just done an awesome job, and they were the ones fighting, getting through the polar bears and the black mold and building camps by hand in the middle of Labrador. So this is nowhere without them.
Yeah, for sure.
So to the project itself, this is a mid-continent rift related thing. For those who don't know the mid-continent rift, it's a really special mineralizing event, really. I think that the biggest thing is just to understand that this around the rift, thousands of years of copper mining, and most recently, I guess is people might have seen the hit by Talon, 35 meters of almost 30% nickel equivalent. I think it was 60% copper equivalent. That's mid-continent rift related. 16 million tons of resource. The Keweenaw Peninsula is sheets of native copper in the ground. 16 billion pounds of production between 1860 and 1995. Basically, the majority of America's copper production was coming from there. And then most relevant to our team, Eagle and Eagle East, the nickel copper thing in North Michigan, rift related under Lundin. Neil was, of course, very, very familiar with the mid-continent rift, given that they purchased that for about 400 million in 2012. That is 3% copper, 3% nickel, and really the rift. All we're trying to say is that when the rift makes something, this 100 million year kind of mineralizing event, which it dates into the mineralization that we have on the project, all 4 phases of it. When the rift makes something, it's usually it seems to be pretty special. So we are here on the rift at the intersection of this and this large Kapuskasing fault that goes up the James Bay, and just the missing, it's kind of fun. It could be like the missing porphyry that surrounds the rift. So really fun macro story here. And then just zooming in on that timeline. So this was this specific area as we have it here, started in the mid 1800s. This is a 30-kilometer copper mineral system. Most significantly, there's it's bookended, really. You see that on the two X's by two old mines. The Copperport mine is the sheeted veins, 1 million tons of plus 1% copper, operated for 4 or 5, 6 years. But the Triebag mine was run by Teck in the 60s and 70s. And depending on the reports that you read, it's, there are indications that there was 20% copper, 50-meter zones, and just a very rich breccia system, these 4 breccias that produce. And so we're right directly smack in the middle. But just that's a 30-kilometer system with 2 mines and a lot of copper going on in between. So big system here. And the real story is that when the Triebag mine shut down in 74, there was a stoppage on staking and kind of piecemeal exploration, and credit to the team at Copper Road and John Timmins and those guys, Brian Howlett, who put this together and consolidated the whole space to basically put this 30-kilometer system together for the first time. And that is really what enabled us to kind of take this property-wide exploration approach, bringing us back to where we are today. So in 2024, we got this in May of 2024. And today, 1 year later, we're here with this discovery. And I just want to take the moment just to really credit our First Nations partners. The Batchewana Bay have been just an amazing supportive group. They're the reason that we were able to move so quickly here. Their knowledge of the land and just have been such a great partners. Garden River and the Michipicoten. It's been a wonderful experience to work here. And then we are sitting in the core shack, our core shack, but which is really the garage of Dan and Diane Shelley. Dan has been on this project with his partner Roy Rupert since the beginning. Really, they are the stewards of this project, and really they are an encyclopedia of knowledge that no AI system can really replicate. So this is as much their discovery as it is ours. So this year of time that we were able to do this stuff is no accident. It's very much so because of them. They took us, it was Dan who took us to the outcrop that really led to this discovery. So just quickly, prior to jumping into the geology, I think it's really worth stating, again, we're in this garage, in this core shack. We are 5 minutes from the Trans-Canada Highway here. That road that you see there, the Triebag Mine Road, is about 7 minutes from here. And in about 25 minutes, which we did yesterday, you're standing on top of this porphyry. There's a rail line 20 kilometers to the east of the porphyry discovery that goes directly into the deepwater port of Sault Ste. Marie, which is an hour drive south of here. Sault Ste. Marie is 100,000 people, very, very talented workforces there. And I think that the infrastructure here cannot be overstated enough. It's simply a wonderful place to be with, this is just very rare in copper exploration, and it allows us not only to have cost advantages in building the mine or an operating cost when you look down the road, but as a junior looking at porphyry systems, often the issues with dilution or the issues with needing to spend a lot of money to really make a dent, it just is not the case here, because we have just such great access and opportunity, and you're not building camps up in the top of the mountain. So special place to be able to find something of this grade. Last thing you're going to hear from me, the last year, the soil samples, just for context, again, that Triebag mine, 4 breccias, 6.5 million tons, is 12 kilometers or so away from where we're drilling. We put together the property-wide mag, reprocessed 200,000 sheets of paper that luckily Roy was able to send to us. We have an IP survey there that was in green, and just to kind of just focus in on what we were really targeting in this program. I mean, we drilled 4 holes in the spring. We hit 360 meters of 0.36 equivalent, but the big part of this resistivity trend is that everything seemed to be mineralized. And within these mineralized intervals, you had these 1 meter kind of intervals of 3% copper and 0.5 gram gold. So basically these patches of bornite that really stood out to us, this very high tenor, no pyrite, no pyrrhotite. And so it got us really excited to drill what we're drilling today. And it's worth showing that copper cave showing is just, if you see the right below the drill hole there is 16% copper at surface, really a 6 meter wide outcrop of just bornite and chalcopyrite just plastered on the wall and in veins, and just many different kinds of phases and areas of mineralization. So We also have this 40 meters of 1% copper hit about a kilometer to the west in the breccia. And so what we're just trying to show here is just the scale, and our targeting approach this year was really just a kind of grid across this and then make a dent in the resistivity anomaly and see where this mineralization went from what we drilled in the spring to where we are now. And so I will turn it over to Jeremy now. We also are sitting on top of 9 meters, but anyway, over to you for the drill hole itself.
Sure. I'll step back just for a sec. So we decided that we would come in here and be very careful about our approach and where we drilled. So we spent the first year quite intentionally not drilling and learning from Dan and having the opportunity to go out into the field and have that wealth of historical knowledge. Doing airborne over the entire property that had never been done before, doing LiDAR. There's a LiDAR image there on the left. Which was really important for our structural interpretation, structure being a really key part of where the high grade bornite is, and then doing soils and then IP. So being very methodical and very strategic in how we approached our first drilling program. And so our first hole last year, MJ 2501, we were standing on top of that yesterday. And we walked basically along the length of that hole, and it really opened up a whole new chapter in this project in finding bornite associated with the GFP. So GFP is Great Friday Porphyry. We hit it on Good Friday earlier this year. It's a really important phase of the mineralization. There's multiple phases of porphyry intrusions here, and it's important because it has this bornite and generally higher grade chalcopyrite with it. So we walked along it yesterday and walked over to the cave showing, which is, it's amazing, really. You're standing in front of this vertical face that has multiple vein sets. You have quite a bit of bornite and chalco. You have these flat line molybdenite high moly veins. And then you go up over the hill and you're walking over sulfides as you go up the hill, 130 or so meters away, up to MEPS 2, where we drilled this hole that we press released on Monday, which is truly a major game changer. It opens up a whole new chapter for the project. It blew our expectations out of the water, really. We had higher expectations than what we saw in MJ 2501. We knew that there could be more, and this system could produce something really special. But what we hit in MEPS 2 just was like unreal. Hitting really, really high grade, like 33% copper. It's bananas. And we had this huge zone of it. It starts basically at surface. It's 5 meters down the hole is where the mineralization starts going. But the first 2 meters are overburden. We have really shallow overburden here. So it's really amazing. You can see rock, like mineralization in outcrop. And it gets me really excited. You had the resistivity map up on there a few minutes ago, but this is target 1 on our resistivity map. You go back into the presentation, and it's there we go. This is a really big system. We're standing on top of one of the next pads we have set up, and looking towards the north, and you can see this ridge, and you can see the structure where this guy's going. You're like, wow, I can't wait to drill this. So we have lots more to do, but we've really set the foundation for something really fun, really special, and I'm really proud of our team. It's taken a lot of work to get here, but we've set the stage for something really fun going forward.
I think that it's good just to highlight the pictures of the rock. We just threw out on social, and the entire core library is on our website, by the way. I think that's worth highlighting. So the entire hole, both MJ01 and this hole, are on the website with a bunch of samples. You'll see the first bornite vein indication. I think it's 4% over a meter, something like that, is at 24 meters. There's really bornite from 24 to 350 meters in this whole dotting. Of course, it is not like the high grade zone, which is this 9 meter zone that's related to GFP, magnetite vein, and then you get this massive bornite. And I think that Rob Carpenter had an amazing discovery today, and I saw that in his press release. He had the entire assay table, and I will remember to do that next time. But I think it's worth highlighting just the grades as you go through this. I mean, the GFP, we're sitting on top of the core at the moment. So the GFP itself, you've got 0.6% copper as an interval. And then you've got 4% copper as an interval. And then you get into
This is GFP right here.
And then unfortunately, we tried to make this so that you could see the rock, but again, there's good samples online. But then you get into, and I'm just going to read it, do the samples as they go, which is 21% copper, 33% copper, 10% copper, 7.9% copper, 8.9% copper, 0.7, 3.5, 3.3, and 0.5. So this is a real zone of mineralization. The gold is really nuts. That is a whammer. 196 grams gold. We re-assayed that a bunch of times. I thought that it was a typo when we saw it.
I had predicted 15.
Yeah, I think that we had bets on what it was. It blew us away. There is lots of gram gold and 2 gram gold kind of throughout the system here and there. That is an interesting thing for sure. That definitely really changes the game in the system. So that's here. The whole point of this hole was really just to show what is in the system. I mean, you have widespread copper similar to the MJ holes throughout this 350 meters, but now you have this high grade zone, and about at the beginning of that high grade interval, the 68 meters, you have about 15 of plus 1% copper as well. So it's certainly not one indication. I think the 30 meters after this is about 0.57. It's a significant interval that it's not like a 1 meter thing. So really exciting to have this here, and just close up pictures of the GFP porphyry, which we're predicting is a pre-mineralized porphyry. The 3 stages of porphyry that are on this project. You have 3. You have this GFP, and then you have one that I don't really remember the name. It's kind of in the middle of the mineralizing events, and then Jogren, which DP, and then Jogren, which is the one that was discovered in the 60s. That is the latest stage porphyry. That historical resource of 0.15, I think, copper and 0.05 moly. It basically carries 1 phase of mineralization. You see 3 phases here. So it's very different scale, but that, when we started finding this GFP porphyry, and that was really what set us in, that really what's got Neil excited and got us going in terms of, you're seeing bornite in the veins, you're seeing chalcopyrite through the matrix, and it's a fun time. So
we had that slug of chalco right there on the left, 40 meters ahead of this zone. So it's, again, the mineralization started at 3-5 meters down the hole.
So and we'll wrap up here and just go to the questions, because it's nice to see the board. Please feel free to ask whatever. We're pretty, we're excited to talk about this. So this is 30-kilometer, mid-continent rift related big mineral system, giant mineral systems, great giant mines, and the right rocks create the best kinds of them. And so you've got these high grades associated with these GFP dikes, these magnetite veins, and this super high tenor, now gold rich kind of bornite. No pyrite, no pyrrhotite, just a wonderful copper sulfide mix. You got amazing infrastructure and access that allows for all year exploration and wonderfully competitive costs for exploration. And we're still drilling. We're going to continue to drill, and don't plan on stopping drilling that soon. So we're moving forward. And we highlight, of course, this is very early days. This was the 6th hole on the property. So far, all 6 have a bunch of copper in them. And then Neil always likes to say a line that it resonates with me very well, which is, giants don't hide very well. And for us to be able to discover something like this on the 6th hole really just speaks to what this system is. It's just, there's going to be a lot here that we're going to learn, but something really special we think is hiding under here. So we'll go over to questions, and Nisha, if you don't mind reading them out, I think we're good here.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go. How do the porphyries observed relate to the intrusive complex at Jogren nearby?
Well, so far we have, we've hit 3 stages of porphyry. We touched on that. So there is the Jogren porphyry, which was known before we arrived. It's been written, actually some great paper in 2019 written on this, Dick Soloto and Pepe. So we knew about that coming into this. There is 3 phases so far. We think there might be more, but the GFP is, again, the really important, because it has this dumping of copper with it, and
it's really the ages of the porphyry too, right? So you've got the GFP predates the mineralization, and then the other 2 are kind of mixed in the later stages, I think. In that paper that they wrote, they date all of it, and so that's where we're getting a lot of that from.
Okay, next one. Is it really potassic alteration in the intrusive, or is it hematite reddening, typical to alkalic systems?
No, it's potassic alteration. And it's you know, it's obviously a good indicator of us coming into the system, and something we watch out for closely. So yes, it is. It's potassic alteration.
Okay, next one. How do you interpret the high-grade sulfide occurrences adjacent to a few of the intrusive phases? At Jogren, I understand they are interpreted as late mineral and post-porphyry. In core photos, they are not present on both contacts and appear to truncate veining in the intrusive phases.
No, we don't think of it as late stage. If anything, it might be earlier stage. So Jogren is it's a few hundred meters north of where MAPS was drilled, and you can actually see the high grade sulfides again in the cave showing the outcrop. So I think we think there's important structure coming through this part of the system, which has been a conduit for the copper sulfides, which have deposited in these mafic volcanic rocks. We're hosted in our Archean rocks, which is really important to why we have all this copper mineralization accumulating like this. We are early in the system, early in this process, so we're still figuring it out. To be perfectly honest, and we're drilling right now. We're in the middle of our drill program. We only started drilling in April, right? So, and we've covered about a kilometer or so of strike. We're on our 15th hole. But it's an earlier part of the process. It's related to the GFP, and very much we think the structural framework matters a lot.
Okay, next one. Are the high-grade occurrences comparable to the Copper Corp area veins?
Oh, my apologies. Sorry, can you say that again?
Are the high-grade occurrences comparable to the Copper Corp area veins?
Copper Corp's quite a distance away, so related to it in the sense that the copper system is all, was an event. But we are 10 kilometers or
More,
yeah,
15, I think.
kilometers.
Yeah.
It's quite a ways to the west of us. Different style of mineralization. Yeah, they're more like what you would see in the Keweenawan and in that part of the property. And so you're getting native copper and calcite and different species of copper minerals. Whereas you move forward over to the east where we are, it's we're seeing porphyries and a bit of breccia, and you go over to Triberg and it's just breccia pipes. So there's a bit of a cross section of the copper system on our property as you go west to east, and while they are related, we're seeing different styles and different parts of that system.
Okay, next one. Do you foresee a private placement in the near future?
Knew that question was coming. So we're good right now. Again, I think that's why the infrastructure piece was so great. I think that, we're highlighting that you can drill basically 500, you can drill almost 3,000 meters for 500 grand. Like it's when I say that cost competitive, it really is. So we have a very small team, working tightly. We're drilling partners are fantastic. And so we're not in a rush. I think that it's always you'd always be lying as a junior mining CEO to say that you're not going to raise money, because you always have to raise money, because we don't make money in this business for 20 years. So, but I think that there's no on the foreseeable future there's no brokered marketed deal, anything like that I can talk about.
Okay, next one. What is the scale of the relative conductor drilled? What is the large stock like resistor?
So we weren't drilling based on conductivity. There is a VTEM survey that was flown over this property, and but that wasn't part of our initial targeting model. Our targeting model was really surface observations, historical drilling in the area. Of course, our hole that we drilled, MJ2501, but a lot of it was mag, LiDAR, and then our soils and our 3D IP survey, which really it was the resistivity that was what really mattered. Drilling resistivity lows, in conjunction with interesting areas that are poking out of the ground on surface. And yeah, so so connectivity is something we're going to look at because we do have this survey here. And our framing of what we were looking for was not really conductors, right? A porphyry would be more of an IP anomaly, or it's going to be chargeable and it's going to be a low resistivity. But now that we've hit this style of mineralization, for sure, we're going to look at conductors, we're going to look at everything that can help us to build on this. And is this the only porphyry center that's going to be high in sulfides? This highly unlikely. So we need to look. We know we have soil anomalies many kilometers to the south of where we drilled here. It's a fun project, but I mean, every day we have a challenge with stopping the hole because we're always in mineralization. There's copper everywhere. So
I think it's also worth highlighting, like it's an interesting thing, like that the images that I was saying is it's too bad. So we really just received total inversions and reinterpretation of all the work that we did. We found some great people to do it. So we've kind of piled together, it's not buzzword to say it's AI ML, but we piled all of these layers together, the mag, the ZTEM, the resistivity, and the chargeability, to focus on targeting and kind of layering the data with the drill holes, which we're just sort of putting together. That's how early this is. That resistivity that I showed is pretty base level and blobby. In porphyry exploration, everyone has a big blob. So it's actually much more subtle features that seem to be what are mattering. And the magnetite here seems to be something that we should really follow. So the mag, we're hoping that works out a little bit. But again, stressing the early stage nature of this project, I think, is that we're still getting those data sets back and kind of squeezing them as we go.
Okay, next one is, when do you expect to release the results for the deeper section of the hole? And what depths are you drilling now?
Generally, I don't know that we've gone much beyond 500 meters in any hole. Most of our holes are, the mineralization comes to surface, right? So we're really focused on that near surface part of the system. The remainder of this hole, it should be soon. The labs, the market's hot right now, and people are drilling and filling the labs up with samples, and this is something that I think faces most companies. But yeah, it'll be pretty soon. We have press released the sweetest part of the hole.
Yeah, I think we can say that. The whole point of that was, the whole point of getting this part out was like, this is the copper part of the hole. We go into these moly areas, so the moly on this project is pretty spectacular when you see it. It can interject with the copper. In this case, we definitely got the copper part of this hole out that we thought that was going to be the most significant.
Yeah.
So no, we weren't trying to lead the market anywhere by saying assays were pending. That's just that they are pending.
Yeah.
So
well, we needed to get this out.
Yeah, we need to get it out. So that's really where it was at.
Okay, next one is, outside of the massive sulfide hits, what is the host rock grading?
Generally, you're 0.2, 0.3 copper. So the host rock is our key and greenstones and native volcanics. Yeah, pretty consistently, like you showed on one of your maps earlier, the Richards breccia, which is a kilometer or so to the west. Our drilling took us. We were again following our program. A lot of it was really an extension of our winter program that we just didn't get to back in spring, I should say, not winter. And so we went from maps and we moved west, following our targets, which we put together, largely following these resistivity and structural trends, going a kilometer to the west, and then coming down to the south, and then heading back towards the east, where we just wrapped up a hole this morning. So when the drill's on the move today, yeah, it's a really big. We don't know the limits of the system yet. It's quite fun.
It's pretty consistent. I mean, like outside the sulfides, obviously the massive sulfides obviously change a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like that semi-massive sulfides, that changes everything in terms of the, your early payback zones, your economics, and then what can be there. But definitely almost everything, there's generally copper in everything. Saying there's copper in everything, I'm using 0.1 kind of as copper in everything. You do have some zones that drop off. Oddly enough, some of the lowest grade zones in the first holes was the GFP because it dumped everything out. I don't know. But yeah, 0.15 to 0.3 is usually the usually the range of what you're kind of falling through when you're seeing everything else. And then you get these high grade things, and that was really the case at MJ as well, where you had these bornite zones, and then these like big calco veins. And
Started
so
in Molly zone.
yeah, you start in the molly zone there, right? And so you get these 3% molly hits, and I think that you kind of see these higher grade bornite areas, and then when you get out of that, that's when you kind of get into the lower grade stuff.
Excellent. Okay, next one. What size step outs do you have planned for following up on the latest hole? And do you plan to use oriented core in this program?
So we're not doing oriented core right now. We are contemplating probing the holes, optical televiewer, and doing some physical properties down the hole, particularly mag and resistivity. We do mag susceptibility measurements on all our core, of course. As far as step outs go, so far we've been stepping out pretty far. We've been stepping out 100, couple hundred meters as we go along the system. As we follow up on this, we're going to tighten that up, of course. But it's still going to be, I think the next collar is about 50 meters from MEPS 2. But I could see us getting closer into it and maybe even going back to the MEPS 2 pad, which has got some space to follow up on it. To really understand the geometry, obviously the geometry matters a lot. Where does this thing go? These kind of grades, you could follow it quite far at depth, and it would really matter. So it's quite important to understand where this goes. So we'll be tightening up. We haven't fully committed to what that will be. We're really nimble as a team. We learn from every single hole, and we incorporate that into our subsequent holes. MEPS 2 was a learning experience from MEPS 1. We were in the cave showing, looking at this outcrop, drilled MEPS 1, and we thought, we're not quite there. We expected more from this. It's good, but we wanted something else, and we pivoted. We were on the same pad. We turned the drill, and voila, we got into this guy. So,
and one of the reasons that we had to, we just walked it, so I can speak to it a little bit. So it's very steep. It's a very steep hill. And so the 130 meters between this 6 meter wide wonderful outcrop and this hole is basically straight up a cliffside. But it goes up and down. But I think that so when we were drilling it, we were on the move. We were like, oh man, let's move the rig here. Let's do this. And we actually, it took some time. So we went and we did really large step outs. We went and we tested Richards. We did these kilometer long, we've moved out a kilometer, and now we're kind of coming back to it because we've been able to plan the right pads. You don't really want to drill wrong on this spot. So that's kind of just going back into that.
Okay, next one. How many holes did you drill at MEPS?
Right there, just a couple so far.
One the other way.
Yeah.
One, this one, 2, 4.
Yeah.
4.
3
or 4, something like that. Yeah.
There's a lot I would love to drill, and we will.
We're getting into it.
Our guys just set up the next pad.
Yeah. It just took us a little bit of time to set up the infrastructure because of where it was and lots of other places. Again, we had this plan. This hole was not in the original drill plan. We had this big grid approach that we're going to do to test this 2 kilometers of kind of the horseshoe strike of resistivity. And so we had all those set up prior. And then when we drilled this hole, obviously there's a little bit of a scramble because obviously. And so, but then it just took us a little bit to get everything ready.
Okay. With grades being really inspiring, what are your expectations regarding proving scale for the project?
You want that one?
Sure. Yeah. So the grades are inspiring, and the core is like, obviously as geologists, this is very visible. Like, the core came out of the ground, and we knew immediately. We're high grade bornite. We call it the purple party. It was spectacular. To
9 meters of it.
Yeah, and they're heavy core boxes, and anybody's worked in sulfides knows, just by picking up the core box. It outcrops, right? Like it sticks out of the ground, this guy. So we think it has some legs to grow. Obviously we hope it does. We're going to work on that. I think it keeps going further north. Again, we're standing on top of the estuary, and you know, your intuition, your geological intuition just says like, this is where this thing's going. It makes sense in our data, makes sense in the structural geology, and I think it's got some room to grow. We know the copper system keeps going because Jogren is now a few hundred meters to the north of us, but I think this sweet spot in the system also has some legs to grow.
I think also it's worth adding. So I've tried to learn a lot from Neil, who spent the last 16 years in the Vicuña district, really longer. And so, you know, NGX came from all three of those projects were in one company worth $30 million. And I got good stories of, you know, which one do I buy? And that's a giant mineral system, obviously, with Filo and NGX and Lundin Mining. And I think that it's really drilled into all of our heads, like giant mineral systems make giant deposits. And this is a pretty big mineral system. The 30 kilometers bookended by copper mine. You get copper everywhere you look. You know, even our low grade copper, like you have copper everywhere. And so the scale, I don't think any of us are actually worried about the scale of the system because it already is showing that the scale of the system is enormous. And again, that line Giants don't hide very well is that on our 6th hole drilling into this, to hit something like this is is pretty special, right? So it's there. I think that we're figuring out the model. You know, it's a lot of different things and a lot of good ideas here. And we're purposely not putting out theories and expectations because we've got a lot of it on the go. And but until you kind of drill and show it, it's not something that, you know, you want to throw out there just because it's an unrealistic expectation, I think. So, but I think that the scale is not something any of us worry about. The scale here is tremendous.
Okay, the next one. Are you seeing bornite in all of the 15 holes you drilled?
No.
No, that
Okay.
we stepped pretty far.
We stepped really far.
No,
And there's no bornite, just for context there. The breccia, the 40 meters of 1% there, and that carries 12.5 meters of 2.5%. That's all chalcopyrite. There's no bornite in that. So I say no quickly because when you follow up that stuff like that, like that's not the bornite. That's not so far bornite in the area.
mm-hmm.
Okay, the next one. Are your drilling costs roughly $166 per meter?
Yeah. Then we also have, so
Roughly, that's a pretty exact number.
yeah, well, 500 grand. I've done that. So good one.
He did the math, so.
So yes, that does not include that's basically drilling and assays. So that doesn't include the fixed costs. Basically, our team, we've all been together for years. So Jeremy, myself, Neil, Crystal, and Rory, I think we're coming up on 4 years now. And the extra people on our team, we're all staffed up, so that I don't include the cost of us in that drill cost. So you probably have as you know, 120K a month burn outside of that drill cost that plays. And don't hold me to that exact number because other things happen, but that's give or take what it is.
Your copper equivalent grades to date do not allow for iron ore values. Do you have iron ore values in your assay and calculation data?
No, I don't think it's a factor. While there is an iron formation several kilometers to the north of here, there isn't. I don't think magnetite concentration is going to be part of this story necessarily.
You do have lots of other fun things like rhenium and scandium and a whole bunch of other critical things that are in here. But again, we're not going to talk about that until you have thin section work and recoveries and things like that. But there's a lot of fun other things in here too.
Okay, next one. To what extent did the Phelps Dodge drilling back in the 60s aid in targeting this discovery, especially outside the Jogren deposit itself?
Yeah, it helped a lot actually.
Great one.
So there's a hole that was drilled to the south of MEPS in that area of MEPS 1 actually, and more than the results from the hole, the logs, you know, going through the papers that you mentioned we got from Roy and Dan, and
Unreal.
reading the old logs, we could see that it seemed like they hit the GFP. You know, again, we had a different reference point because we had intersected it back in April, and so our perspective was a little bit different. But going through those logs and others, actually, there's other places like,
well, a kilometer to the east, even there's a 4% over 1 meter vein in the Mayfield Volcanics, and then surrounding it in the logs, which are not assayed, are indications of bornite and what we think is the GFP, and that's 1 kilometer to the east of our current hole, and it was drilled in 1996. Crystal has become an expert in the every drill log possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Phelps hole was a good one though, because it's really near the cave.
Yeah, there's a few. So yeah, it's and that's actually kind of surprising. There's quite a bit of material that was not acid. There was a lot of gold focus.
The end of the Phelps hole.
So yeah, so you have to dig into those logs and those paper reports, which are so important.
And it's also giving us an indication of scale, because when you see, logs showing 50 meters of bornite and what we think is the GFP, and that's a kilometer away, and you get porphyry outcrop 4 kilometers to the northeast, and it's the scale, and we have bornite and outcrop 4 kilometers to the southwest, and it's just, you're starting to see the system really between the logs, this drill hole, to show you what was possible in the project. I think that that scale question and kind of the richness of the system gets taken care of.
And they uncovered the cave show.
And the cave showing, yeah. Was that Phelps?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's that. Well, that was the reason we drilled that hole.
Yeah.
So it was 100%.
Awesome. Okay, so the last 2 questions, and perhaps you can group them together. There's some that are asking about the status of the remaining projects in the portfolio, and what does news flow look like for the remainder of the year?
I can take that one. Sure. So there's 2 other projects in the portfolio. Where we started in Newfoundland, where this company was started in 2020. Thanks to the guys at Altius, the Sail Pond project in Newfoundland, which was kind of a silver copper polymetallic, super confusing but super promising system. That's just sitting there. It's in good standing. It's great. We're not really doing anything on it right now.
15 years, I think we have.
Yeah, a long time. Spent a lot of money there. Sour point. But and then our project in Labrador, this 44 by 11 kilometer sediment hosted copper system, that was really where Neil kind of came into the picture. We drilled 2,000 meters up there, following up on information at the end of 2023. Didn't really hit what we wanted. That is a giant copper system. BHP's Explorer program's winner, Viridian, staked 2,600 square kilometers all around us. I hope that they do lots of work and figure that out. It's sitting there. We're doing great with it. I think that it's just, for now, we're focused. Our small team, we're focused very much on what we think is a giant discovery here.
It's heavily supported as well. So.
Yeah, it's heavily supported. It's a little bit different. Yeah. And then news flow for the rest of the year. You have drill results. I will restate that in this bull market, labs are very backed up. It's frustrating. You can imagine how frustrated we are. But it's not. At some point, you're just like, okay, it's fine. So that's going to come out when they come out. Can't really give guidance on that anymore, and I've done it for 3 years, and I'm always way off by months, and so I don't want to do that anymore. I apologize to investors. But news flow, you have there's lots of other things to do.
We're still drilling.
We're still drilling right now. I mean, this is, again, very early days, but you got lots of drilling to talk about, and team and things like that. So hopefully we got, we don't plan on stopping drilling anytime that soon. So that's the best you can do as a junior, is just drill a lot.
Awesome. Okay, well, that concludes our Q&A portion. Do you guys want to make any closing remarks?
I think, again, just really proud to be part of this. I think it's a really special moment. Like, we arrived up at the site on Monday, and to be with the team, looking at the core and walking over the property, and obviously we're super excited to share these results, put this press release out, and see the market reaction. But these are special moments. I've been fortunate enough to be part of a few of them, and the buzz is, I don't know, the feeling is, it's incredible, right? To be part of a discovery like this, and just to dream about where it's going to go and where we're going to take this. It's a lot of fun. We all love this. We have an amazing team of people that will work on this. We're a small team, but we're like a family, and nothing gets done well without a great team like that.
Yeah, certainly. That's what I want to sign up with. Just thanks to our partners. Thanks to the First Nations, Batchewana Bay and Michipicoten and Garden River. Thanks to Diane and Dan Shelley, who literally we have taken over their backyard as our core shack. And honestly, again, that cave, without the cave showing, probably don't drill this hole. And so that was only known of because of Dan and Roy. And so thank you very much to them, and just the tireless efforts of our team, Crystal and Rory, just literally doing whatever it takes to kind of get here. So I'll sign off with, I think that we should really make sure that, you know, that it's a team thing. It's all people. You know, the rocks aren't going anywhere. They're gonna do that thing, but you need the right people. And so fortunately we have a team that got it. And so thanks a lot for the time today. We've got everyone, and you know, reach out anytime. I think our contact details on the website. We have Core Library on the website. Trying to stay pretty active on social with videos of the core and what we're doing. And so please feel free to reach out, and we're around. So thanks very much, and hopefully this is just the start of a really fun ride as we put together what hopefully is you know, the missing porphyry in the Mid-Continent Rift, and we'll sign up with that.